My name is Jennifer. I was 28 years old when I overheard the man I had supported for 3 years tell his mother, "I couldn't do better right now. So here we are." He laughed after saying it. That laugh ended our relationship before he even knew I was listening. Until 6 months ago, I believed Ethan and I had built something solid. We lived together in a comfortable apartment in a mid-sized city. He was 26 and worked as a graphic designer, taking freelance projects while trying to establish himself professionally. I worked in accounting. My job was steady, predictable, and not remotely glamorous, but it provided good benefits and enough income to keep us afloat whenever Ethan's projects disappeared. I paid most of the rent. I covered groceries. When clients delayed invoices, I quietly handled his portion of the utilities. I believed that was what partners did. We met through mutual friends shortly after college. Ethan was creative, spontaneous, and full of ideas. He could make an ordinary Saturday feel exciting simply by suggesting we drive somewhere without a plan. I fell hard. During the first 2 years, we hiked on weekends, stayed awake binge-watching terrible shows, and planned trips we could rarely afford. Ethan called me his rock. I loved hearing it. It made every sacrifice feel meaningful. Then the comparisons began. Jade worked in marketing at Ethan's company. She traveled frequently, posted photographs from luxury hotels, and apparently turned every business assignment into an adventure. At first, Ethan mentioned her casually. "Jade flew to Miami this morning for a campaign." Or, "Jade says people who stay comfortable never really grow." Soon, she entered nearly every conversation. One evening, I cooked Ethan's favorite pasta after working all day. He took 2 bites before looking at his phone. "This is sweet," he said. "But sometimes I wish we did more spontaneous things. We can plan something this weekend." "That's the problem. You always plan." He turned the screen toward me. "Jade once drove 8 hours overnight just to see the sunrise from a beach." I smiled tightly. "That sounds exhausting." Ethan sighed. "You never understand the point." The emotional distance grew quietly. Date nights became opportunities for him to check his phone. Affection became routine. He shared social media posts about people settling for average lives, then claimed I was imagining things when I asked whether they were directed at me. That same winter, Ethan lost his largest freelance client. He panicked. I took extra shifts, canceled my gaming subscriptions, and withdrew money from savings to cover his rent. I held him while he cried and assured him his career would recover. It did. His gratitude did not last. Instead, he began telling me he felt trapped. Not by debt, not by work, by our life. The phone call happened on a Thursday evening. I came home tired, expecting our usual takeout dinner. Ethan was in the living room speaking to his mother. I paused in the hallway to remove my coat. I had no intention of listening. Then I heard my name. "Jennifer is nice," he said. "Reliable." A brief silence followed. Then he laughed. "But honestly, I couldn't do better right now, so here we are." My hand froze around the coat hanger. "Jade is more my speed," he continued. "She's ambitious, exciting, always ready for something new. But with the economy and my career being unstable, I can't exactly leave. Security matters." My chest tightened so sharply I could barely breathe. 3 years reduced to security. I was not his girlfriend. I was affordable housing with feelings. Ethan ended the call by saying, "I have to go. She'll be home soon." I waited several seconds before entering. He looked up and smiled. "Hey, how was work?" "Fine." We ordered pizza. We watched television. We went to bed like everything was normal. Inside, his words repeated until they stopped sounding painful and began sounding useful. I couldn't do better right now. By morning, confusion had become clarity. I would not beg someone to recognize my value. I would give him exactly what he wanted, a chance to find something better. Ethan left for work at 8. The door had barely closed before I pulled 2 suitcases from the closet. I packed my clothes, work documents, laptop, photographs, and anything irreplaceable. I left the furniture. Most of it had been purchased with my money, but freedom felt more valuable than arguing over a sofa. On the kitchen counter, I placed the apartment key beside a short handwritten note, giving you a chance to do better. Then I loaded my bags into the car and drove to my friend Mark's apartment. He opened the door, looked at the suitcases, and handed me a beer without asking questions. For several hours, I kept my phone turned off. When I finally powered it on, messages flooded the screen. "Where are you? Did something happen? This isn't funny. Call me." Then the voicemails began. At first, Ethan sounded worried. By evening, he sounded angry. "What does your note mean? Are you seriously ending 3 years over nothing? Come home so we can talk like adults." An hour later, another message arrived. His voice had changed. "Wait. Did you hear me talking to my mom?" I stared at the screen. He already knew. "It was just venting," he continued. "You're not a placeholder. You're my partner. Our life is simply too routine sometimes. Jade understands that side of me, but she's only a friend." He was still defending Jade, still blaming the life I had worked to protect. I sent one final text. "It's over. I'll arrange to collect anything else later. Take care." His reply arrived instantly. "You can't do this. I love you." I blocked the number. Love should never sound like a panic response to losing financial stability. Ethan wanted an opportunity to find someone better. I had simply stopped standing in his way. The first few days after I left Ethan felt like walking through the aftermath of a storm. Everything looked familiar, but nothing felt stable. Mark gave me his couch without asking for rent and cleared one shelf in his bathroom for my things. He did not force me to explain every detail. He simply let me exist until I could think clearly again. Ethan continued calling from blocked numbers. At first, his messages sounded wounded, then defensive, then angry. One voicemail began with an apology and ended with him accusing me of abandoning him when his career was unstable. Another said, "You always claimed you wanted honesty. I was honest with my mom." I almost called him back, just to ask whether he genuinely believed honesty meant humiliating me in private while continuing to accept my money in public. Instead, I deleted it. A week later, he appeared at Mark's apartment. Mark opened the door and looked toward me. "You want me to get rid of him?" "No. I'll handle it." Ethan stepped inside wearing the same jacket I had bought him for his birthday. His eyes were red. For a moment, I remembered every softer version of him, the man who once held my hand during thunderstorms, the man who used to leave drawings inside my lunch bag. Then he spoke. "This is ridiculous." The memory disappeared. "You vanished without a conversation." I heard the conversation that mattered. He ran both hands through his hair. I was frustrated. People say stupid things to their parents. "You said you were staying because you couldn't do better." "That isn't what I meant." "It is exactly what you meant." He paced in front of the sofa. "My career is unstable. The economy is terrible." I was explaining why leaving right now would be complicated. The coldness of that answer surprised even me. "So you did want to leave?" He stopped. "That's not what I said." "You wanted Jade. You just needed my income. Jade is a friend. A friend you compare me to every week." His face flushed. "She challenges me. She thinks bigger. And I paid your rent while you decided whether I was ambitious enough. You're twisting everything." "No, Ethan. I'm finally hearing it correctly." His frustration cracked. He sat beside me and lowered his voice. "I miss you. It has been 1 week. I miss us. You miss the apartment. That's cruel. You called me a temporary solution." He reached for my hand. I pulled it away. "I can change," he said. "I'll spend less time online. We'll travel more. I'll stop talking about Jade. You should not need to lose me before deciding to respect me." Tears appeared in his eyes. "You're the best woman I know. But not the best woman you believed you could get." He looked down. That silence answered everything. When he left, he paused at the doorway. "You'll regret ending this so easily." I met his gaze. It was not easy. It was necessary. 2 weeks later, I moved into a small studio apartment in a quieter neighborhood. The place had old floors, a narrow kitchen, and only one closet, but every object inside belonged to me. No one looked at my paycheck and saw an escape plan. I threw myself into work. For years, I had avoided taking on demanding assignments because Ethan complained whenever I stayed late. Now I accepted every opportunity. My manager noticed. A month after the breakup, she called me into her office. "We're promoting you to senior accountant." The raise was significant. The hours were more flexible. I walked out carrying the offer letter and felt something I had not felt in months. Pride. Not because someone had chosen me, because I had chosen myself. I started hiking again. Mark invited me to game nights with friends I had neglected. I replaced the furniture I left behind one piece at a time. The apartment slowly stopped feeling temporary. So did my confidence. Still, quiet moments remained difficult. Sometimes Ethan's laugh from that phone call returned without warning. I would question whether I had been too sensitive or too quick to leave. Then I opened the note on my phone where I had written his exact words. "I couldn't do better right now." The doubt disappeared. 2 months after the breakup, our mutual friend Lisa contacted me. I almost ignored the message. Then I opened it. "Just thought you should know Ethan is dating Jade now." I stared at the screen. The betrayal did not surprise me. The speed did. Whatever he had called friendship had been waiting for an opportunity. I replied with 2 words. "I'm fine." For a while, their relationship looked perfect from a distance. Trips, expensive dinners, photos with captions about choosing adventure. Ethan had found the exciting life he believed I had denied him. But by the 3rd month, the stories changed. Jade's glamorous marketing work was inconsistent. Her income came in bursts. She expected Ethan to pay for trips he could not afford. She checked his phone, criticized his designs, and accused him of lacking ambition whenever clients rejected him. One evening, Lisa called. "They're fighting constantly. That's their problem. It gets worse. Their company caught them flirting at work. Management warned both of them." I felt no satisfaction, only recognition. Ethan had mistaken instability for passion. Now, he was living inside the difference. Meanwhile, my life kept moving. At a professional networking event, I met Daniel, a project manager with a calm voice and an unexpectedly sharp sense of humor. We spoke for nearly an hour. He asked about my work and never once made reliability sound like a flaw. Before leaving, he smiled. "You seem like someone people can count on." Months earlier, that sentence would have sounded like another way of calling me boring. Coming from Daniel, it sounded like respect. We exchanged numbers. And for the first time since leaving Ethan, the future felt interesting again. Daniel and I took things slowly. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became weekend hikes and long conversations in which neither of us checked the time. He never compared me to another woman. He never treated my steady career as proof that I lacked imagination. When I mentioned that I enjoyed planning trips in advance, he smiled. "Good. Then we won't end up sleeping in the car because every hotel is full." The ease of it unsettled me at first. I had spent so long believing love required constant effort that peace felt suspicious. Daniel never expected me to fund his life or manage his emotions. He had his own apartment, his own goals, and enough confidence to celebrate my promotion without turning it into a competition. On our 3rd date, he said, "You're thoughtful. People probably lean on you too much." The accuracy caught me off guard. I used to think being needed meant being loved. And now? I'm learning the difference. By then, Ethan and Jade had moved in together. Their social media presented an endless celebration of risk and freedom. One weekend, they were at a music festival. The next, they were posting from a rented cabin with captions about refusing ordinary lives. But behind the photographs, the relationship was cracking. Jade's marketing income was inconsistent, and Ethan's freelance projects could not support the lifestyle they were displaying. They borrowed money. They missed payments. Then the jealousy started. Jade checked Ethan's phone and accused him of flirting with clients. Ethan complained that she was controlling. The irony was almost too obvious. He had praised her intensity when it was directed at me. Now that he lived inside it, he called it toxic. 4 months after our breakup, Lisa called me late one evening. Ethan and Jade are done. I continued folding laundry. What happened? Jade cheated with another coworker. I stopped moving. Lisa explained that Ethan discovered messages between Jade and a man from another department. When confronted, Jade claimed the relationship had developed because Ethan had become too dependent and predictable. The same accusation he had once used against me. Their argument erupted at work. Ethan shouted. Jade accused him of harassment. Management investigated the office relationship and discovered months of inappropriate messages, missed deadlines, and company resources used for personal trips. Both were suspended. Jade resigned before the investigation concluded. Ethan was fired. Within weeks, his savings disappeared. The expensive apartment they had rented became unaffordable, and Jade left him responsible for penalties and unpaid bills. She moved in with the other guy, Lisa said. I expected vindication. Instead, I felt tired. Ethan had chased the excitement he believed I denied him. He had found it. The problem was that excitement without loyalty became chaos. He started contacting me soon afterward. The first text arrived while Daniel and I were hiking. Hey, can we talk? I deleted it. The following day, I know you're angry, but I've been thinking about us. Then, we had something real. I didn't appreciate it. I ignored every message. That silence transformed his regret into panic. He began calling. His first voicemail sounded fragile. Jennifer, I made a mistake. Jade wasn't who I thought she was. Can we meet for coffee? I just need to explain. The next was more emotional. You always understood me. I didn't see how rare that was. He did not miss me. He missed being understood without doing the work required to understand someone else. A week later, Ethan appeared outside my office building. I saw him leaning near the entrance as I left work. His clothes were wrinkled. His face looked thinner. The confidence he once displayed while comparing me to Jade had vanished. There you are, he said, forcing a smile. What do you want? To apologize. You've apologized in 6 voicemails. Not properly. I kept several feet between us. He explained that Jade had manipulated him. He said she promised adventure but created instability. He blamed stress, work, and fear of becoming ordinary. I understand what I lost now, he said. Because the replacement failed? His expression tightened. That's not fair. It's exactly fair. I miss you. You miss my paycheck, the apartment, and the fact that I solved problems before they reached you. That isn't all you were. It was enough for you to stay until you thought you could upgrade. Tears appeared in his eyes. I love you. You loved the security I provided. I choose you. I almost laughed. You chose Jade. She chose someone else. Now you're standing here because you're alone. He grabbed my sleeve. Please, I lost my job. I'm barely sleeping. My friends won't answer. I need you. There it was. Need. Not respect. Not accountability. Need. I pulled my arm away. Fix your own life. His sadness immediately became anger. You've changed. Yes. You used to care. I still care. I simply don't confuse caring with rescuing you. I walked to my car while he called after me. The messages grew uglier after that. One voicemail accused me of enjoying his suffering. Another said I was heartless for abandoning him during his lowest point. Then, his family joined in. His mother called first. You need to stop punishing him, she said. He made one mistake. One mistake did not last an entire year. He needs stability. So did I when he treated me like temporary housing. She called me selfish. I ended the call. His sister sent a message accusing me of replacing Ethan too quickly. Several mutual friends asked whether I would at least hear him out. I answered every request with the same sentence. No, the relationship is over. Daniel remained calm throughout everything. One evening, as we prepared dinner at my apartment, someone pounded on the door. I already knew who it was. Ethan stood in the hallway with red eyes and smeared rain across his jacket. Let me in. No. We need to talk. We have nothing left to discuss. Then he saw Daniel behind me. His face changed. Who is that? My boyfriend. The words seemed to strike him physically. You replaced me? No, I moved on. He shoved one hand against the door. You can't erase 3 years. I didn't erase them. I learned from them. You think he's better than me? Daniel stepped closer, but I raised my hand. I don't need to compare you, I said. That was your habit. Ethan's eyes filled with rage. You'll come back when you get bored. I closed the door. Through the wood, I heard him shout that I was making the worst mistake of my life. Security removed him minutes later. Inside, Daniel looked at me carefully. Are you all right? Yes. And I was. Ethan had finally become what I had been to him during that phone call, someone outside the life I truly wanted. 6 months after I left, our mutual friend Lisa invited Daniel and me to her wedding. I knew Ethan might be there. I attended anyway. I had spent enough time allowing his choices to decide where I could go, but when the garden ceremony ended and the reception began, I saw Ethan entering through a side gate. His clothes were rumpled. His face was desperate. He spotted me beside Daniel and began pushing through the crowd. The final confrontation was coming, and this time, I would not leave him a note. Ethan reached me before I could decide whether to walk away. He pushed through 2 groups of guests, ignored Lisa calling his name, and grabbed my forearm as though physical contact could force me back into the relationship. We need to talk. Daniel stepped forward, but I gently touched his hand. I've got this. Ethan looked from him to me. His expression carried panic, anger, and the old certainty that his needs should become everyone else's emergency. You brought him here? This is Lisa's wedding. Daniel is my boyfriend. You knew I would be here. I did not organize my life around you. Guests nearby had begun watching. Soft music continued beneath the tension, but conversations around us faded. Ethan lowered his voice. Please. Not in front of everyone. I almost laughed. You came through a side gate uninvited and grabbed me in the middle of a reception. His eyes filled. I've tried everything. Calls, messages, your office, your apartment. You won't listen. I listened for 3 years. That isn't fair. No. What wasn't fair was supporting you while you treated me like temporary shelter. He released my arm. His shoulders sagged. Jade destroyed me. She exposed what you were willing to risk. She cheated. And you built an emotional relationship with her while living with me. That was different. Of course you believe it was. He glanced toward Daniel again. Can we speak alone? No. Jennifer, I'm begging you. The words would once have broken me. Now they sounded like another demand disguised as vulnerability. Ethan wiped his face. I was wrong. Completely wrong. Jade was unstable. She controlled everything. She drained my savings and ruined my career. I see what I had with you now. I held his gaze. What did you have with me? He hesitated. A home. I waited. Stability. I kept waiting. Someone who always supported me. There it was. Everything he missed made his life easier. Not my humor. Not the way I listened. Not who I was when I was not solving his problems. You do not miss me, I said. You miss what I provided. That's not true. I love you. You loved knowing I would catch you. His voice cracked. I need you. No, Ethan. You need rent money, emotional support, and someone willing to rebuild your life. His face twisted. That's cruel. It's the truth. He looked around at the guests, embarrassed by the audience he had created. Then he stepped closer. I can change. I'll find work. I'll stop comparing you to people. We can start over. I glanced at Daniel. He stood beside me without interrupting, without making the moment about himself. Warm. Steady. Present. Then I looked back at Ethan. You once told your mother you couldn't do better, so you stayed with me. His face went pale. I was venting. I gave you the opportunity to do better. Jennifer, don't. You took it. He shook his head. I was wrong. Yes. You're throwing it back in my face. No, I'm reminding you why we are standing here. Tears slid down his cheeks. I didn't know how good you were until I lost you. That is not romantic. His mouth opened, but no words came. It means you needed to destroy me before recognizing my value. He reached toward me again. I stepped back. You said you wanted someone ambitious, exciting, and spontaneous. I don't want that anymore. Because it failed. I want you. No. You want the version of yourself that existed when I carried the consequences. A few feet away, Lisa approached with worry in her eyes. Ethan, you need to leave. He ignored her. You really chose him? Daniel's hand found mine. I did not squeeze it to make Ethan jealous. I held it because it felt natural. I chose a relationship where I'm respected. Ethan stared at our joined hands. I can respect you. You had 3 years. His anger surfaced at last. So that's it? You're just going to parade your new life in front of me? This wedding is not about you. You moved on so fast. I had already spent a year grieving while we were still together. His face crumpled again. You can't say I meant nothing. You did mean something. Hope flickered in his eyes. You taught me never to remain where I'm only valued for what I can provide. The hope disappeared. I looked directly at him. You said you couldn't do better right then, so I gave you the chance. He flinched. It didn't work out, I continued. That is not my problem. Please. No. Jennifer. I have done better now. I turned slightly toward Daniel. Meet the man who values reliability instead of mocking it. Daniel gave Ethan a quiet nod. No triumph, no competition, just certainty. Ethan looked between us. But I love you. It mattered once. My voice remained calm. Then you made me irrelevant. The words settled between us. Now you are irrelevant to the life I am building. His shoulders began shaking. Go home, Ethan. Preserve what remains of your dignity. For several seconds, he stood frozen beneath the string lights. Then he turned. He moved through the crowd slowly, ignoring the whispers and concerned faces. By the time he reached the gate, he was openly crying. I felt no victory, only release. Lisa approached immediately. I am so sorry. He begged me to let him come, and I refused. He must have followed someone inside. It's all right. You sure? Yes. Daniel looked at me. Do you want to leave? I glanced toward the dance floor, the lights, and the people celebrating a healthy beginning. No. I'm done letting Ethan decide where I stay. We remained. We danced. We laughed with friends. And for the first time, I attended a celebration of love without carrying the weight of someone else's contempt. Months later, Daniel and I moved into a home together. We split expenses fairly. We planned trips that included both preparation and spontaneity. When I received another promotion, he celebrated without feeling threatened. When his work became stressful, I supported him without becoming responsible for saving him. That balance felt unfamiliar at first. Then it felt like home. Ethan never contacted me again. I heard he found another job and moved to a different neighborhood. I hoped he learned something. But whether he did or not no longer mattered. The lesson was mine. Being dependable did not make me dull. Being generous did not make me weak. And being alone was far better than remaining someone's temporary choice. I once thought leaving without confrontation was cowardly. Now I understood it was the first brave decision I had made in years. The note I left behind contained only 6 words. Giving you a chance to do better. He tried. So did I. The difference was that I finally understood what better actually meant.